Hello and welcome to my webinar titled How to Frame Your Artwork Like a Professional. I am Kathy Beekman and will be your host. In order for you to get the most out of today's webinar, I strongly encourage you to take notes. Hopefully you already have a notepad and pen available. One of the nice things about this webinar is that you will be able to view it online at our website www.createmsudenver.com. Before we move on to the 8 things you need to know before framing your artwork, let me tell you why I am able to speak to you today as an authority on framing your artwork like a professional. Presently, I am the owner of Beekman Fine Art and Design, a business that incorporates a number of different creative activities such as creative entrepreneurship advising or art career coaching, custom picture framing, and the creating and selling of original art. Most recently, I authored the book titled Prosper, a success book for artists. But let's back up here for a moment. In 1993, with a Bachelor of Fine Arts under my belt, I began working as a custom picture framer for a custom picture framing business. I continued working for a number of these businesses and soon found myself framing for galleries, museums, and private art collectors. I framed everything from photographs and drawings, ceramic bowls, kimonos, to original Picasso paintings and Beatle music scores. You name it and I probably framed it. With this said, I am first and foremost a professional artist and presently make the bulk of my living painting landscapes in pastel. Because I have the know-how when it comes to picture framing, I'm able to not only cut my costs substantially when it comes to framing my own artwork, but I'm also able to present my own artwork in a professional manner. Galleries and collectors, they love this. Every artist that has their artwork placed within a picture frame should know what is involved with picture framing, whether they do the framing themselves or not. And why is this? Because with this knowledge, the artist can then intelligently speak about framing with any picture framer or art collector. With my help, knowing what is involved in framing, and if you decide to, framing your artwork yourself is going to be very simple and very straightforward. Keep in mind that this is the first in a 2-part series of webinars. Here in this webinar, we're going to discuss what to consider before framing your artwork. In my second webinar, we'll discuss the actual process of framing your artwork. So let's go through this list of 9 things to know before framing your artwork, and then we'll discuss each bullet point in more depth. Number 1, what is custom framing? Number 2, why custom frame? 3, choose a signature style frame. 4, framing components. Why use conservation materials? Mounting artwork properly. And here is 7, choosing glazing. 8, products used in picture framing. And number 9, educating the public. Before we move on to a more in-depth discussion on each of those bullet points, let's address the question, what is picture framing? First of all, it is an action. It is when a person puts an object into a frame and this in turn is hung on a wall. This object can be an oil painting, a photograph, needlework, a kimono, ceramic bowl, you get the picture. So what then is a picture frame? A picture frame is an edging intended to enhance and protect the item that you're framing. This edging helps make it easier to display and protect the item framed. When you are ready to prepare your artwork for display, get the look you want. Custom framing offers a proper union of artwork, mats, molding, and other components that complement your style. Appearance makes a difference in how your artwork is perceived, so it is well worth the effort to make the highest quality presentation possible. By making this effort, you will have more success in getting your work accepted into juried art competitions and galleries. Proper custom framing will minimize the deterioration of your artwork over time. And I love this quote, "Poor presentation can make great art look terrible. Good presentation can make terrible art look great." A signature style frame is one that helps to clearly identify the artwork as yours. Having a signature style of framing will help others quickly identify your artwork as yours. How do you find your signature style? Well, it's easy. Here are 3 steps to get you started. Number 1, the key to creating the perfect signature style begins with identifying what kind of style of art you're creating. Is it contemporary? Well, then go for a contemporary frame. Is it delicate? Then you'll want a very delicate frame. Is it a heavy modern look? Then a thick, heavy frame may be your best choice. Just as in creating your own clothing style, you're going to want to keep the personality of style of your artwork in mind. Also, you want your framing to be different from other artists' framing, so choose framing that is somewhat different so that your style will stand out. The key to a flattering signature style is all about color and proportion. Choose framing that complements your artwork and does not detract. The framing should become one unified package with the artwork. In other words, the viewer of your artwork should not be distracted by the framing. The framing that you choose should work with all of the oil paintings, for example, that you create. Here are some great suggestions when looking for a signature frame. Avoid overpowering the art with brighter, bolder, or busier framing materials that distract from it visually. And secondly, most artwork looks best in modest frames that have clean lines and are black neutral or have a natural wood finish. In order for your framing to become a signature style, you need to stick with it. You should consistently use the same style of framing for all of your artwork. So the main goal is to find your personal framing style that will set the artwork off from the wall and highlight it without detracting from the artwork. Here's an example. A simple, fairly thin black frame with a fairly large white mat. And when I say large mat, I mean about a 4-inch border all the way around the image. One of the advantages of this style is that it helps provide consistency for any exhibit you participate in. The consistency of the frames will help distract the viewer from concentrating on the framing, and so they'll begin to concentrate on just the artwork. A second advantage is that you can reuse the same frames for future artwork. Framing components. A custom frame package is made up of many parts. The major components are the molding, or the frame, mat board, or spacers for space and design, mounting board to attach the artwork to, a backboard to fill the back of the frame, and glazing, which is either glass or acrylic. I've added a few other items that I feel are important to discuss, and that is the dust cover and the hanging system. So let's now address each of these components. Frame molding varies greatly in style and quality. As already mentioned, you want to avoid overpowering the art with brighter, bolder, or busier framing materials that distract from it visually. Today, most quality picture frames are made out of either wood or metal, and there are a number of different profiles, or in other words, shapes that you can choose from. Plastic molding is also available, but I suggest that you stay clear of it because it is prone to warping. Picture frame molding has what is called a rabbet, which is spelled R-A-B-B-E-T. This is a groove that is cut into the molding and into which other frame components will fit into, for example, the glass and the matting. Making a frame requires 4 pieces of molding that are cut at 45-degree angles, and then each of these 4 pieces are joined to make a square or a rectangle. The strongest joining method is using a combination of glue and a special nailing from the back of the frame. One type of nailing from the back of the frame that can be done in your home studio is called thumbnailing. This will be addressed in my follow-up webinar. So here we have glazing. Now glazing refers to the glass or acrylic material covering the artwork as a means of protection. It helps to protect from dust, damage, and from handling, as well as UV light. There are many types of glass, including regular clear glass, anti-reflective, which is a chemically coated glass, non-glare, which is an acid-etched glass, and conservation glass, which helps filter UV light. There are also acrylic glazing products that come in the non-glare and UV filtering types. Acrylic, or plexiglass, is lighter in weight and safer than glass but scratches easily. It is ideal for, say, oversized pieces and for shipping. Artwork created in soft pastel, and this is important, cannot be glazed with acrylic. This is because of the static electric charge that can be built up, and the static charge will literally cause the acrylic to attract the pastel dust and lift it from its surface. The result is the dust clinging to the acrylic glazing and not to its original surface. There are advantages to using acrylic with other artwork, however, and they are as follows. It does not break easily, and it can have UV reducing and anti-glare properties. The following are glazing products that will most likely exceed your expectations, and they are conservation glass, museum glass, and AR or anti-reflective glass. Why these? Because they have the greatest protection against harmful UV light, which causes more rapid deterioration of the molecular structure of pigments used in artwork. Let's go back here for a moment and talk just a little bit more about conservation glass. It's a clear glass to which an ultraviolet inhibiting film has been applied, and it blocks up to 99% of the UV rays compared to 46 to 50% blocked by just regular glass. So if you're framing a photograph, for example, or anything that has pigment that you're afraid might fade in light, conservation glass is something you would like to use. Now, museum glass, which is an anti-reflection picture framing glass, has UV protection that is 99% effective. So, it effectively blocks up to 99% of harmful indoor and outdoor UV light rays, so frame pieces are going to last a very, very long time. AR reflection-free glass offers the same amazing clarity as museum glass. It allows for 97% light transmission and reduces reflections to less than 1%, though it provides only 78% UV protection. Conservation clear picture framing glass offers the same level of UV protection as museum glass, though it's much less expensive than museum glass, though it's not anti-glare. Mats are made from a variety of materials such as paper, cotton, and fabric in a variety of colors. Mats serve their purpose as a spacer between the artwork and the glazing, friction, and condensation. They also allow for the expansion and contraction of the artwork with fluctuations in humidity. Matting makes the overall size of the finished piece larger, and it also allows for a place for the eyes to rest between the frame and the artwork. This breathing room allows the artwork to have a presence within its surroundings. So, how large should a mat be? A general rule of thumb is that any artwork over 16 by 20 inches should have a mat with a minimum of a 3-inch wide border. When in doubt, go wider. A wide mat is better because it expands the artwork and makes it appear larger. A narrow border visually makes the artwork look smaller and cheap. However, do not use extra wide mats just to make a piece fit into a standard size frame, because this will only make the overall appearance seem awkward. Float mounting artwork over the mat can be used so that all of the artwork is seen, or when the edges of the artwork are deckled. An acrylic spacer should be then used to keep the art from touching the glazing if a mat is not to be used. Acrylic spacers should always be used when a mat is not present. Again, this is to prevent the artwork from touching the glazing. You can see an acrylic spacer in the photo to the right here. It sits just under the glass and above the mounting board. The next framing component I would like to touch on is mounting. Mounting is the technique used to secure artwork to a board. There are several different methods and materials to choose from when mounting artwork. There's dry mount and wet mount processes, which are a way to mount two-dimensional items. They both bond artwork to a board to prevent cockling and are most appropriate for posters and photographs that are of no real value. Artwork of value should not be dry or wet mounted, as these processes are generally irreversible and can greatly affect any resale value to that artwork or memento. On a side note, do not use tapes that are not acid-free or rubber cement for mounting your artwork. These contain acid that will cause gradual yellowing, fading, and deterioration of your artwork. You want to help preserve your art for future generations of art lovers to collect and enjoy. Conservation mounting incorporates no acidic adhesives touching the artwork. For example, Japanese paper hinging used with cellulose paste. The art therefore hangs freely, allowing it to expand or contract with changes in humidity. Hinging and photo corners are recommended for original artwork, including all works on paper. True conservation framing means that the artwork can be fully and cleanly removed at a later date. Museums, for example, must adhere to conservation guidelines. In conservation mounting, all acid-free materials are used. There are several inexpensive mounting products available today that are safe for your artwork. Some products, such as photo corners, mounting corners, and hinging tapes, and tissues are all safe products for mounting your artwork. Photo corners and archival hinging tissue, let's address that for a moment. One of the main reasons that pictures buckle after being framed is that the image, mat, and mount board all have expanded or contracted at different rates with changes in temperature. For this reason, it is important to leave the image as free as possible to move within the picture frame. The two primary ways of achieving this are mounting with photo corners and hinging tissue to allow the image to freely expand and contract beneath the mat. It should only be hinged, that is the artwork, should only be hinged at a couple of points along the top edge. Larger images may require more hinging points. When using acid-free photo corners, there is no adhesive or water that ever comes into contact with the artwork. When using photo corners, a window mat will be needed so that the photo corners are not seen. So a quick review here, and then we'll talk about the backing board and dust cover. Let's take a look at this diagram. We have the frame, which we've talked about, the glazing, the matting, or an acrylic spacer, the artwork, which here appears to be mounted with photo corners, and it is mounted to a mounting board. And then this mounting board is backed with a backing board. The backboard can also be the mounting board, and it is the material to which the artwork is attached. The mounting board is not visible while viewing the frame hanging on the wall. This is because it's covered by the artwork and/or matting. There are different types of backboards available. Use only acid-free backboards to prolong the life of your artwork. A backing board serves to help keep your artwork flat and from falling off the backside of your frame. Dust covers keep dust and insects out and slow the rate of temperature and humidity. The traditional method is to cover the back of the frame with craft paper. The problem with this is that not only is the paper usually very acidic, but it inevitably tears and therefore defeats the purpose. And also, insects can burrow through the paper. So I recommend using a dust cover tape such as a Tyvek tape, which comes in 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and 2.25 inch widths. Lastly, we have the hanging system. Picture frame hangers refer to two products. The first is any item that is used to attach to the frame so that they can be hung on the wall. The second are hangers that you attach to your wall to hang your framed artwork from. We're going to talk about the hangers that you attach to your frame because you must have these to display your artwork in any type of art exhibit. One of the best hangers for use on wood frames are called D-rings, which you can see here to the left, and these can sometimes be called strap hangers as well. They are made of steel, shaped like the letter D, and are screwed into the back side of your frame molding. Wire is cut to an appropriate length and attached to both of the D-rings. This is what then hangs from a hook placed onto the wall. There are different sizes of D-rings because picture frames can vary in size and shape. Be sure to use the proper hanger, which will be determined by their overall frame package's weight. Whatever you do, do not use sawtooth hangers. The name sawtooth is exactly how the hardware looks. It's a jagged saw blade and it's rectangular shaped hanger that is installed at the top center point of your frame. These are very unsafe as they are very notorious for being pulled out of the frame molding by the weight of the frame package hanging on a nail. Most all galleries and art shows will not accept frames with sawtooth hangers. Picture hanging wire provides a sturdy and steady hanging method. Wire works especially well for heavy frames since you can use multiple hangers to support the wire if necessary. Do not use an aluminum wire, as aluminum is soft and can break easily. Selecting the correct wire to support your framed artwork is every bit as important as using the right hardware. Picture frame wire comes in many different types and weights. There is multi-strand braided galvanized steel, twisted stainless steel, stainless plastic coated, copper plastic coated, nylon coated wires, etc. My favorite wire to use is the plastic coated stainless wire because it will not mar walls, it will not mar the back of the picture frame, it will not hurt your fingers during installation, and it's corrosion resistant. and so it will not rust or discolor. Coated copper is softer and easier to work with, but it does not have the strength of stainless steel. So why use conservation materials? Well, let's review why conservation materials should be used. They should be used to preserve and protect your artwork. Whoever you are selling your artwork to will want to know that their purchase is going to last a very long time. Paper and raw pigment is sensitive to its surroundings. We talked about that, and it can be affected by damp, changes in temperature and humidity, restriction of movement, and exposure to light. Paper and pigment will also react to the materials with which it is in contact, such as acidic backing boards, so never use cardboard, and self-adhesive tapes. Using the following conservation products will prevent your artwork from quickly deteriorating. Use acid-free backing board, acid-free mounting, and UV filtering glass, or UV filtering acrylic glazing. Here is a review of the products that can be used during picture framing. This list indicates items which I concentrated on in this webinar. There are many other products that can be used that have not been mentioned here. The ones I have mentioned here are molding, glass, wire, D-rings, screws, dust-covered tape, glazing, conservation mounting, acrylic spacers, mat board, and backing board. One product that I did not cover and that is not listed here are framers points. Framers points hold the glass, artwork, and backing materials securely in wooden frames. Points go in perfectly flat behind the backing board. When using metal frames, spring clips are used instead of framers points and have the same function of holding the frame package securely together. While artistry and presentation are the defining factors that might sell your artwork, every customer wants to know that their investment can be treasured year after year. It is therefore important that your collectors and galleries know that you're properly framing your artwork. Letting them know that you cared enough to help preserve your artwork will make them feel like they have made a sound investment by purchasing your artwork. Great care needs to be taken when handling framed artwork. Only one painting should be handled at a time. Large framed artwork should be moved by 2 or more persons, and be sure to carry the painting with 2 hands from the sides of the frame or by its wire. Finally, do not carry a painting by the top of the frame, as this can cause the top part of the frame to detach from its sides. And how to clean the glazing material. Most commercial cleaners are good for cleaning glass. Avoid cleaners that contain wax, disinfectants, and detergents. Avoid anything containing ammonia. And always spray the cleaner on a cloth, then wipe the glass. If you spray the cleaner directly on the glazing, you're going to run the risk of having the cleaner run down between the frame and the glazing. This, in turn, could wick up into the framing package of the artwork. Finally, educating the public, such as persons collecting your artwork or galleries selling your artwork, will only help prolong the life of your framed artwork. Remember, all artwork should be presented in a simple, professional manner. Consider yourself a professional and treat your artwork with respect. Whenever possible, use conservation materials in framing. Common materials such as paper, cardboard, and tape containing acid that will cause gradual yellowing and fading and deterioration are big no-nos. By using neutral pH materials, you can help preserve your art for future generations of art lovers to collect and enjoy. The completed framing package, this means its front, back, top, and bottom, is part of the overall art package, and it should appear to be new and well crafted, not battered and worn or flimsy or fragile. And finally, choose that signature style of framing so that your framed artwork becomes clearly, recognizably yours. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you found this webinar useful. If so, you will also find my book, Prosper, a success book for artists, just as useful. It has 12 chapters geared toward the beginning artist, as well as a reminder to the established artists of the importance of the basics. And it can be purchased on Amazon. For more information on Create MSU program, please visit www.createmsudenver.com.